My suitcase was already packed when I got home from work. Not folded neatly. Just stuffed. Like I was garbage being cleared out. My stepsister Vanessa sat on my bed wearing my silk robe, twirling a strand of blonde hair around her finger. My husband Adrian stood near the window, arms crossed, with that rehearsed calm expression on his face. "It's better this way," he said without looking at me. "Vanessa understands me in ways you never did." I looked around at the house. The modern art I'd chosen. The marble floors I'd personally selected. The business awards lining the hallway. All of this. I asked quietly, gesturing to the space. Vanessa smiled, that sweet smile she'd perfected since childhood. "You were always too cold for him, Sophia. Too focused on work. He needs someone warmer." Then Adrian said the words that changed everything. "I filed for divorce this morning. Papers are being served tomorrow." The room went silent except for the sound of my own breathing. I didn't scream. Didn't cry. Didn't beg. I just looked at the man who thought this house, this life, belonged to him. My name is Sophia Vale. I'm 33 years old. And they had absolutely no idea whose name was actually on everything. Adrian had always hated what he called boring administrative stuff. So when he launched his consulting firm 6 years ago, fresh with confidence and big ideas, I'd structured everything for him. Set up the LLC. Arranged the asset shielding. Created the umbrella holding company that protected everything. All in my name. He'd signed wherever I told him to sign. Trusted me completely with the legal and financial details. "Babe, I trust you with this stuff," he used to say, kissing my forehead. "You're so much better at paperwork than me. I just want to focus on the clients." He shouldn't have trusted so blindly. Because trust is supposed to go both ways. And his trust in our marriage had already expired the moment he started sleeping with my stepsister. I'd known for 3 months. Had evidence saved in multiple locations. But I'd stayed silent. Calm. Organized. Because rage is messy. And I'd learned long ago that patience and documentation were far more powerful than confrontation. While they'd been planning their future together, I'd been preparing mine. 2 weeks after that evening, they made their relationship public at my mother's birthday dinner. My mother had remarried when I was 12. Vanessa was her new husband's daughter, 2 years younger than me. We'd never been close. She'd always competed for attention. Always needed to be the center of everything. At the birthday dinner, Vanessa held Adrian's hand across the table in front of everyone. "We didn't plan this," she said with fake sincerity dripping from every word. "Sometimes feelings just develop." My mother avoided looking at me. She'd always favored Vanessa. Always made excuses for her behavior. Adrian squeezed Vanessa's fingers like he'd won some prize. Everyone stared at me, waiting for me to break down. To cause a scene. To cry or yell or do something dramatic. Instead, I simply sipped my wine. Smiled politely. And memorized every face at that table. The ones who said nothing. Who looked away. Who enabled this humiliation. They thought public shame would weaken me. Clarified me instead. At 2:14 in the morning, 3 days later, my phone lit up with a bank notification. Large transfer initiated from joint account. I didn't panic. I was already awake, working on my laptop. I logged into the corporate dashboard instead of the personal banking app. The funds weren't moving where Adrian thought they were going. Because major withdrawals from business accounts required dual authorization. His signature and mine. The transfer hung in pending status, waiting for my approval. I didn't block it immediately. I let it sit there. Let him think it had processed. Sometimes you have to let people dig their own holes before you fill them in. I took screenshots. Saved timestamps. Documented the attempted unauthorized withdrawal. Evidence. Always evidence. Then I went back to sleep. Vanessa posted a photo on social media 4 days later. The caption read, "New beginnings, 2 hearts #blessed." The photo showed a luxury condo interior. Modern furniture. City views. I recognized the marble backsplash in the kitchen immediately. I'd paid for that renovation. Through my holding company. The condo was leased under the business umbrella I controlled. Adrian had signed the lease as managing partner. But he wasn't the managing partner. I was. I zoomed in on a document visible in the background of Vanessa's photo. Lease agreement. Adrian's signature clearly visible. Signing as an authorized representative when he wasn't. False representation on legal documents. That was going to be expensive for him. I saved the post. Screenshot with timestamp. Added it to my growing file. Adrian's divorce lawyer sent the initial settlement proposal. Quick timeline. Clean split. Minimal financial disclosure requirements. They wanted this finished fast. Which meant they were afraid of what discovery might reveal. I read the proposal 3 times. It assumed assets were split 50-50. Assumed the house was marital property. Assumed the business was jointly owned. All assumptions. None of them accurate. I didn't immediately decline the offer. Instead, I had my attorney request full financial transparency. Complete disclosure of all assets, accounts, and business holdings. The response from Adrian's lawyer took 4 days instead of the usual 24 hours. They were stalling now, which meant they were finally starting to realize something was wrong. But they didn't know what yet. Vanessa cornered me outside a coffee shop 2 weeks into the divorce process. I'd stopped there after a client meeting. She must have been watching my schedule somehow. "You always acted so superior," she said, blocking my path to my car. "So smart. So successful. Now look at you. Divorced and alone." I set down my coffee carefully. "Vanessa, do you understand how corporate ownership actually works?" She blinked, confused by the question. "What?" "The business. The properties. The assets. Do you understand the legal structure? Adrian's company is successful. That's all I need to know." I smiled. Actually smiled. "You should probably ask him whose name is on the incorporation documents." Her expression flickered. Doubt creeping in. She thought she'd stolen a seat. She'd stolen an employee. And she had absolutely no idea yet. Adrian scheduled an important board meeting to announce company expansion plans. He walked into the conference room confident, with presentation materials and growth projections. I attended virtually, my face appearing on the large screen. Several board members looked uncomfortable. They knew about the divorce. About Vanessa. When the agenda reached the vote for majority leadership confirmation, the corporate attorney read from the official filings. Current controlling interest holder, Sophia Vale. 73% ownership. Complete silence. Adrian's face went white. He stared at the screen where my calm expression didn't change. "You said that was temporary," he whispered loud enough for the microphone to catch. "When we set up the structure." I'd never said that. He just never bothered to ask questions. Never read what he signed. Never verified assumptions. The meeting adjourned early. Adrian tried calling me 17 times that afternoon. I didn't answer. 1 week later, my attorney sent a certified letter to the business office. Subject: Corporate misuse review initiated. All company accounts would be frozen pending forensic audit. Standard procedure when ownership disputes arose or when unauthorized transfers were attempted. Completely legal. Completely justified given the pending transfer I'd documented. The condo payment Vanessa had posted about bounced 3 days later. I knew because she called Adrian screaming loud enough that I could hear it through his voicemail, which he'd accidentally left on speakerphone while calling me. I didn't return any calls. Didn't engage at all. Consequences communicate fluently without my participation. Rumors started spreading through Adrian's industry. Financial irregularities. Leadership disputes. Ownership questions. Professional networks are small. People talk. Adrian sent me increasingly desperate text messages. "We need to talk. This is affecting the business. Just fix this." I replied to only one message. "I'm protecting my assets. That's what responsible owners do." He finally understood. He wasn't the asset. The company was the asset. And he'd just been managing it. The luxury sports car Adrian drove was leased under company policy. Company vehicles were for business use only. Personal use required documented business justification. Weekend trips to beach resorts with Vanessa didn't qualify. Company policy violation triggered automatic lease termination. The car was repossessed from the condo parking garage on a Wednesday morning. Vanessa filmed it on her phone, crying about the humiliation. She posted the video but deleted it within an hour. But the internet doesn't forget. Screenshots circulated. Image was everything to Vanessa. She'd built her whole identity on appearances. Watching that crumble was almost poetic. My mother finally called me. We hadn't spoken since the birthday dinner. "You're ruining Vanessa's life," she said without preamble. No hello. No how are you? No, I replied calmly. She attached herself to a structure she didn't understand. That's not my responsibility. She loves him. She loves what she thought he had. There's a difference. Long silence. You've become so cold, Sophia. I've become careful. There's a difference there too. For the first time in my life, my mother didn't have a response defending Vanessa. Even favoritism collapses under the weight of financial documents. The forensic audit was completed after 6 weeks. The findings were delivered to the board in a confidential report. Misallocated funds. Not criminal but reckless. Adrian had moved company money to fund personal expenses meant to impress Vanessa. First-class trips. Designer furniture for the condo. Expensive jewelry. All logged. All traceable. All documented with receipts and bank transfers. Romance leaves a paper trail. The board called an emergency meeting. I attended in person this time. Sat at the head of the table in the chair that had always been meant for me. The board voted to remove Adrian as acting director pending full review. The decision was unanimous. Industry blogs picked up the story within hours. Leadership shakeup at Vale Consulting Group. Vanessa's social media went silent. No more posts about new beginnings or blessings. Adrian stopped sleeping according to mutual friends who still talked to him. I started sleeping better than I had in months. No guilt. No second-guessing. Just the peace that comes from protecting what you built. The divorce mediation finally happened. Adrian looked smaller somehow. Tired. Older. His lawyer presented a revised settlement proposal. Much more modest. More realistic. You're destroying everything we built, Adrian said, looking at me directly for the first time in weeks. No, I corrected gently. I built it. You managed it. There's a significant difference. His lawyer shifted uncomfortably. And foundations don't collapse, I continued. They simply remove what doesn't belong on them anymore. The mediator cleared her throat. Shall we proceed with asset division? Adrian nodded, defeated. Vanessa tried launching her own lifestyle brand. Living authentically with Vanessa, or something equally vapid. She had no funding. No business plan. No sustainable model. Adrian couldn't support it. His income had dropped to a fraction of what it had been. The luxury condo was gone. They'd moved to a modest apartment. Brand partnerships require credibility. Influencer deals need real influence. She had neither anymore. She'd thought proximity to power made her powerful. She was learning the difference between being near success and creating it. Adrian agreed to completely revise divorce terms. No spousal support. No ownership claims. Immediate resignation from the company with a modest severance. He signed quickly this time. Actually read the documents before signing. Amazing what losing everything teaches about paying attention to details. His lawyer tried to negotiate better terms. But there was nothing to negotiate. The prenuptial agreement I'd insisted on 6 years ago was ironclad. Adrian had laughed about it at the time. We're going to be together forever, babe. But sure, if it makes you feel better. It made me feel prepared. The condo lease was legally terminated under misuse clauses. Business property used for personal affairs without proper authorization. They had 30 days to vacate. I drove past the building once. Couldn't help myself. Lights were off. Moving boxes visible through the windows. No more marble backsplash photos. Just silence and cardboard. The final divorce hearing was almost anticlimactic. The judge reviewed all documents. Everything was in order. Professional. Organized. Thoroughly documented. No drama. No emotional outbursts. Just facts and signatures and legal finality. The judge granted the divorce with a simple bang of the gavel. Adrian didn't look at me as we left the courtroom. I didn't need him to. His acknowledgement had stopped mattering months ago. I restructured the company publicly after the divorce finalized. Brought in new leadership. Implemented transparent accounting practices. The next quarter showed the strongest growth we'd had in 2 years. The same investors and clients who'd questioned me after the divorce now requested meetings. Wanted to discuss partnerships. Opportunities. Expansion. I chose carefully who I worked with now. Power feels different when it's quiet and earned rather than loud and borrowed. Vanessa moved to another city 6 months after the divorce. No announcement. No farewell post. She just disappeared from social media entirely. Her lifestyle brand page went dark. Attention requires admiration. Admiration requires substance. And substance was the one thing Vanessa had never developed. I heard through former mutual friends that Adrian took a mid-level consulting position at another firm. No board seat. No ownership stake. No spotlight. Just a regular salary. The kind of job he used to mock people for having. The kind he said he'd never settle for. Pride falls hard. I renovated the house completely. Removed every piece of furniture Adrian had chosen. Repainted every wall. Changed all the art. Opened windows that had been closed for years. The space finally felt like mine. Because it always had been mine. I'd just been sharing it with someone who didn't appreciate that. One email arrived 7 months after the divorce finalized. From Adrian. Subject line, "Can we talk?" The message was 3 paragraphs of vague nostalgia. No real apology. No accountability. No acknowledgement of what he'd done. Just a softened version of history where we'd grown apart, and maybe we could find closure. I read it once. Then archived it without responding. Closure doesn't require conversation. It requires decision. And I'd already decided. They thought they were replacing me. Building a new life. Starting fresh. Moving on to something better. They were actually removing themselves. Vanessa had chased status without understanding where it came from. Adrian had chased ego without recognizing what sustained it. I'd protected structure. Built foundations. Maintained documentation. In the end, they didn't lose because I attacked them. They lost because they underestimated me. Because they confused my calm for weakness. My patience for passivity. My silence for defeat. I learned something important through all of this. Never let someone mistake your quiet for powerlessness. Never let them assume control just because you let them hold the spotlight. Sometimes the quiet woman in the room isn't weak. She owns the room. He built the room. And when people forget that, the room reminds them. I'm Sophia Vale. I didn't lose my husband and my stepsister. I lost dead weight. And I kept everything that actually mattered. The business with my name on the incorporation papers. The house with my name on the deed. The assets I'd carefully structured and protected. They walked away thinking they'd won. They'd actually just exited a building they never realized wasn't theirs. Me. I'm still here. Still building. Still growing. Still owning everything I create. They couldn't believe what happened next. But they should have. They should have read what they signed. They should have asked questions. They should have recognized that the woman handling all the boring paperwork was actually the one holding all the power. Now they know. And I'm untouchable.